Next is the control statements. Next is the control statements. So that is a whenever we any programming language we use control statements to cause the flow of execution to the advance and branch based on the changes to state of a program. Java's program control statements can be put into the following categories, that is a selection, iteration, and the jump. So selection statements allow your program to choose different paths of execution based upon the outcome of the expression or the state of a variable. Iteration statements enable the program execution to repeat one or more statements, that is iteration statements form the loops. Jump statements allow your program to execute in a non-linear fashion. All of Java control statements are examined here. Now we have the selection statements first. So Java supports two selection statements. One is a if, the other one is a if else and switch. These statements allow you to control the flow of your program execution based upon the conditions known only during runtime. You will be pleasantly surprised by the power and flexibility contained in these two statements. The if statement was introduced and it is a if statement, Java's conditional branching statement. It can be used to route the program execution through different paths. Here is a general form of the if statement, right? So simple if we have, and second is a if else. Okay, then we have if else if statement, and we have a nested if else statement, right? And that is in the if itself we have the four kinds. One is a simple if, the other one is a bidirectional condition control if else, the other one is a else if ladder, right? The other one is a nested if else statement. That is a so anything which we call it as a nested is calling one more statement inside another, we call it as a nested. Okay, simple, you take simple if statement. So simple general form of the single or a simple if statement is if in the within the parenthesis we are going to give the test expression, and if more than one statement is there, that should be enclosed with a pair of braces, right? And if only one statement is there, not necessary to put it in the braces, right? If the condition is true, then you will write some group of statements, so which is enclosed with a pair of braces. If the condition is not satisfied, then it is going to terminate that block and execute the normal execution which are present in the flow of the main program. Okay, the another is a if else statement. The condition is any expression that returns a boolean value, always remember. So any test expression which you are going to maintain in the conditional branching statement, whether it is going to evaluate true or false. That is if the condition is true, represented as 1, and it is going to execute some group of statements. If the condition is false, then it is going to select the else statement, which is the condition is false, is represented as 0. The general form of if else statement is if we are going to give the test expression, right? Then if the test expression is evaluated into the true, then below that there are some statements which are to be executed if the condition is true, and if the condition is false, there are statements present on the else part, so that is going to be executed with the else statement. Then the bidirectional, why it is called as a bidirectional? Because it has two options. One, either it is going to take it will allow the two options. Okay, so that's why it is called as a bidirectional conditional curriculum. Then if works like this, if the condition is true, the statement is otherwise, statement 2 is if no case will be both the states are executed. For example, so you take one so we'll solve afterwards the examples, right? So now nested if else statement is a statement target another if else. Nested if are very common in programming. When we wish to nest if, the main thing is to remember that else statement also refers to nearest if statement that with the same block as else and that is not already associated with the else statement. See now nested if else you just see there. So it is having the if condition. Inside that the if condition we are going to call one more if else. Okay. Then the in the inside that if else, so again we are going to call a one more if else. Then we call it as a that is a nested if else. Okay. Then ladder if else is the else if, that is also called as a the else if ladder. Okay, a common programming construct that is based upon the sequence of nested ifs, that is a if else if. So looks like if condition statement, else we are going to see the difference, else if will come, whereas in case of nested if else if will, else after else we will not consider the if, directly we are going for the if itself, right? Else if condition statement, and another one is a else if condition. Then this kind of expressions or this kind of if else is called as a ladder if else if, right? So that is all about the if statements. Simple if, bidirectional if else, ladder if else if, and the nested if else statement. Okay, nested is totally, don't get the confusion with the ladder if else and the nested if else because they are different. So here in the nested if else we are calling one more if else statement inside the another if else. There, whereas in case of ladder else if, we are just testing the condition and then we are going to use a else if you test the condition. Okay, then it will have the block of statements to be executed. See now the example. The if statement executed from the top down in case of ladder if else. As soon as one of the conditions controlling the if is true, the statement associated with that if is executed and the rest of the ladder is bypassed. If none of the condition is true, then the final else statement will be executed. The final else acts as a default condition, that is if all other conditions test fail, then the last else statement is performed. If there is no final else and all other conditions are false, then no action will take place. Here is a program that uses an if-else if ladder determine which season a particular month is in. Okay, so there are some few examples which are going to illustrate the ladder if-else. Okay, you can search in the internet. Okay, or if you Google it, you will get plenty of examples for ladder if-else. Then you have to understand the concept of ladder if else and nested if else. They are different. Okay, they're not one and the same, but they look like same only, but they're not. Next is see, this is about so when you are going to use too many if else statement nested, lot of confusions will come. There is a lot of confusion will come, and you cannot understand what it is, right? So for that reason, so when you want to check which if is for which else and which is going to execute, so it is something like a too confusion when you are going to nesting too many if else statements in a nested if else statement. So that is also for multiple conditions only. For nested if else also use it for multiple conditions only. But if you are going to use too many nested if else statement, then it will not lead to it will lead to some complexity, right? So instead of that, we have one multi-conditional control structures that is called as a switch statement, where when you want to have more number of conditions to be tested, right? We are going to use a switch statement. Okay, the switch statement in Java is a multi-way branch statement we call. It provides an easy way to dispatch execution of to different parts of your code based on the value of an expression. As such, it often provides a better alternative than a large series of if-else statement. Here is a general form of the switch statement is we have to give the switch keyword, then that contains the expression inside the parenthesis, then you have any number of cases, but it should be a finite number of cases. You have to specify some number. Finite means what? You have to specify some number so that it is going to, you can give the case. So case is one keyword where different conditions or different expressions are going to be chosen based on the expression which is present inside the switch. Okay, this case values will be an integer value or an the character. Okay, it depends. Okay, character, if it is a case is a character, then you have to enclose with a single quote. Say for example, I want to do the arithmetic operations. So how many arithmetic operators are there? 5 arithmetic operators are there. Okay, so 5 arithmetic operators, then I will use case plus, case minus, case star, case slash, like this. So these are all I cannot represent as a number, right? They are the characters, right? When they are the characters, we have to use the single quotes, plus single quotes, minus within the single quotes, etc., like that. Okay, so case value may be a character or may be a the the integer value. It will not be a the floating point value, right? So the different case and value 1, case value 2, case value 3, so on. So each and every case you need to specify the break statement. Why we need to specify the break statement? Because after execution of a particular case, we want to terminate the switch statement. Suppose if you don't give the break statement, what happens is the next case value statements also going to be executed, which is not a the it is not a conditional branching statements. When you, it is going to, it will not come under the selection. Okay, it is going to execute the all the conditions. Okay, so we, that is the reason why we are going to mention the break statement inside the switch. Break is not that, it is one kind of termination of the program. When the break is encountered by a control, right, the program is going to stop the execution for that particular point itself. And one more very important is that there are some situations where none of the case does not match for a given expression in the switch. So we want to terminate. So we don't want the system to hang by printing some message. We want that to be given. Okay, we want that to be initiated. We want some input or some output should be displayed on the screen. We don't want to stop them. We don't want to hang, or we don't want to print a black screen. So for that, we use a default option. So default option is when none of the case does not match in the switch statement what is defined in the program, right? Then it goes to the default option and it is going to select the block of statements for the default. This switch statement provides an easy way to dispatch execution of different parts of your code based on the value of an expression. As such, it is often provides a better alternative than a large series of if-else if statement. Here is a general form of switch statement. Okay, the expression must be of type byte, short, int, character. Each of the values specified in the case statement must be of type compatible with the expression. Okay, each case value must be a unique literal. Duplicate case values are not allowed. The switch statement works like this. The value of the expression is compared with each of the literal values in the case statement. If a match is found, the code sequence following that case statement is executed. In none of the constant matches the value of the expression, then default statement is executed. However, the default statement is optional. If no case matches and no default is present, then no further action is taken. Okay. The break statement is used inside the switch to terminate a statement in sequence. Okay. When a break statement is encountered, execution branches to the first line of code that follows the entire switch statement. This as an effect of jumping out of the switch. So switch statement is a very important for multi-directional. We call it is a multi-directional conditional control structure because it is having the multiple conditions to be tested based on the switch expression. Okay. So the statements associated with the case constant that matches I are executed. All others are bypassed. After I is greater than 3, the case statement default statement is going to be executed. The break statement is if you omit the break, execution will continue unto the next case also. That is the reason why we are going to specify the break inside the switch statement. And in here also for switch statement, like if nested if statement, even we can make the switch statement also nested switch statement. So nested switch statement as a part of the statement sequence of outer switch. This is called as a nested switch. Since a switch statement defines its own block, no conflicts arises between the case statements in the inner switch and the outer switch. So it is that is when you are going to call one more switch statement inside the another switch, then it is called as the uh, the nested of switch statement. So because we are executing one more switch statement inside the another switch. Okay. So that is about the nested switch statement. The case 1 statements in the inner switch does not conflict with the case 1 statement in the outer switch because they are different. Okay, the switch differs from the if in the switch can only test for equality, whereas if can evaluate any type of Boolean expression. That is, switch looks only for a match between the value of the expression and one of its case constants. Now, two case constants in the same switch can have identical values. Of course, a switch statement and an enclosing outer switch can have case statements in common. A switch statement is usually more efficient than a set of nested if. The last point is particularly interesting because it gives a into how Java compiler works. When it compiles a switch statement, the Java compiler inspects each of these case constants and create a jump table that it will use for selecting the path of execution depending on the value of the expression. Therefore, if you need to select among a large group of values, a switch statement will run much faster than the equivalent logic coded using the sequence of if-else. The compiler can do this because it knows that the case constants are all same type and simply must be compared for equality with a switch expression. The compiler has no such knowledge of long list of if expressions. Okay, so that is a big difference between the if and the switch. This is all about the conditional branching statements where we are going to represent the with the use of the simple if a bidirectional if, and the ladder else if else, and the nested if else statement, right? So even we can use a multi-branching directional conditional control statement that is called as a switch, and even that is also can be nested using the nested if else statement. Okay, so that is all about your the it's all about your the conditional branching statements, right? So we have plenty of examples, and if you want any more examples to be read in, right? You can Google it. So you will get plenty of examples on the nested if else, if ladder, and the uh, nested switch statement, nested if else statement, etc. etc. Okay, you can Google it and you can go through the examples. So we'll solve some more examples based on that itself.